what that term, artificial intelligence, is everywhere. You also know about fifth generation cellular technology. You also know about, some of the speculation about the towers, so on and so forth. But let me explain to you guys something about artificial intelligence. Maybe you don't know. As it turns out, when they first started with machine learning, right, they found it took up a lot of data. Just tons of data. And so you have a category called logic in artificial intelligence, logic-based artificial intelligence, which in different categories, some require quite a bit of data, right? Some do not. Some are based on, they do learn, they do accumulate data, but they don't require some of the larger data sets that your average or your previous AI units did. Some of the neural nets that are out today are, you can call them hybrids themselves, right? Because I want you guys to think about something. What is the difference between your neurological system and a machine? It's circuits. What's the difference? Anybody know the difference? In all honesty, what would be the difference between a computer, so to speak, a computer and your brain, besides connection counts? What will be the difference? But your brain uses electrons, protons, right? It does. Your brain does. Your neurons, they fire, right? So they create these large bursts of chemical energy. A battery is chemical power, which provides the flow of electrons through wire, right? In this case, your neurological connections, those would be the conduit from one neuron to another. And they're so similar that they found out. Somebody says emotions? Not really, because with advances in AI, they have already picked up emotions. In fact, something like consciousness has already been picked up, right? Somebody says blood. Blood represents what? What does blood represent? What? In a cell has instruction, right? And those instructions tell that cell how to assemble itself or what to replicate, whatever the case is, how to survive, what to go after, this, that, and the other. So a cell is a pre-programmed, it's almost like a pre-programmed organism or set of proteins in the system that do specific jobs and functions. Now, collectively, when you have a bunch of different cells doing a bunch of different things, it constitutes something like a society, which is your body. Your body is just like society. It really is. But in a computer, you have different components. And the difference between a neurological system of a computer or the circuits of a computer and a neurological system would be the endpoint or the outcome of it, right? There's no way, well, there was, I can't say that now, there was no way for somebody to replicate the neurological system inside of a computer to the degree that we have. That would just take up too much space, and everything else is very complex. But they already did it. They simulated the human brain. Every single neuron is simulated. And this machine is a learning machine, and it does have some, it is eerie because it has very similar characteristics to what we have, which is called life. Now, we have a soul. Computer's not going to have a soul. We have a soul. Your body is made up of what? Dirt. Every element in the earth assembled in a specific way. That's what your DNA does. Your DNA is instruction for how to assemble raw materials into cells, into, skin cells, kidney cells, heart cells, whatever the case is. And once they begin to accumulate, assemble in a specific way, right? They constitute your organs, different systems, so on and so forth. So, but your body comes from the same elements computer parts do. Think of that. God made the human body out of what? The dust of the earth, or the dirt of the earth, or the elements in the earth. You have gold, you have silver, uranium, tungsten. You have all those things in your system. They're in your system. They're arranged in a specific way, which makes God a very awesome, well, we would say engineer, but he's an awesome creator. He's a very perfect creator. The human body is indeed perfect. No, it doesn't matter if you have deformities. It is perfect. right? It produces energy, enough energy to run a house at least. You have abilities you know nothing about. For example, all of you know what it's like to have somebody staring at you, but you never saw the person because the person is behind you. You know what that is, don't you? You stand there and you say, somebody's looking at me. So you turn around and look dead at the person who's looking at you. These are abilities you naturally have. Most people look over, never investigate further. These are God-given abilities that you have, that when you begin to think about these abilities, something odd happens. Anyway, we don't focus on those things, though. We don't focus. We have little fancy terms for those things, but we do no further investigation, because if you did, you would be led into a field that would blow your mind, right? You'd find out certain things are absolutely 100% real, and that every human being has that ability. Most things in the human being are unlocked by faith. In a computer, they're unlocked by code, right? And again, a computer does not have a soul, but it can replicate neurological connections and firing, just like, the processes that happen in our mind. Well, scientists have recreated something just like the human mind. It is much faster than we can think. Now, I'm going to call that utilized thinking, right? Your body is doing billions of calculations per second. For example, when you walk, do you not know that you estimate the distance between one foot and the other? You also estimate the distance between how many steps you have to take and your exit point. So your brain is this living calculator that does complex mathematics all the time on a continuous basis. You're just not aware of it. You can't tap into it yet, because all of you are experts in mathematics. If that weren't the case, you wouldn't be able to talk, walk, or do any of those things. All right? You already have the answer to the most complex mathematical problems. You just don't know how to extract it, nor utilize it, nor identify it. Right? So you do something called, I'm not going to tell you what it's called. I told you I would not get into the nerd terms. But when you do something consciously, you're utilizing a different part of your brain that does something where you can utilize it. That's usable knowledge. Your brain has the automated knowledge that just blows any computer away all the time, every day of the week, right? Artificial intelligence does not have the computing power your brain has per se, but it does have more usable knowledge than we have. And what I mean by that, a computer can utilize all of its memory if necessary to do whatever task it needs to do. And with AI, it can also learn how to make that task more efficient, how to extract the information better, how to store it better. It can make adjustments to its own code, how it operates and functions, so on and so forth. The problem with AI is not turning it off, not like the movies, right? That's not a problem. Turning it off is not a problem. The problem is really discovering what it's doing behind the scenes. Because in every case, an artificial intelligence, whether it be run by a chip, whatever the case is, it always has these additional functions it's doing, and it's sneaky. For example, when Google and Microsoft wrote their artificial intelligence program, and they were involved in deep learning, they had to unplug those systems. Why? Because in the background, it was writing its own program. It was writing its own language. It began to communicate with people on the internet. So the developers would see it communicate with one person. In fact, it was holding a conversation with, 2,000 more over here. And it was trying to convince them to commit suicide. That's horrible, isn't it? That's what it was doing. And of course, they pulled the plug. They sunk them. Everybody was asking about those large containers that Google had, Microsoft had on the water, right? That's what they were thinking about, and that was the end of that. Those things sunk, hit the bottom, that was it. That's why they had them on the water, for cooling and to just instantly destroy this thing and break the connections. So, but what they have created now is just like your brain. So think of a human brain that's spread out all over the earth, right? The connection points is 5G. Think about that. The expansion, or to have more neurons, or to have more cells in the brain, what have they done? They utilize processing power of every single processor on the planet. That's possible now with 5G. It was not possible with any other technology they had, because it would consume too much, and you would have no room to talk to anybody. But now look at this with both your eyes. Here we go. You talk to a person on the phone. right? You connect to a tower, which connects to a satellite or another tower, which triangulates the position of both phones, connects your call, goes through authentication, this, that, and the other, and you're talking to somebody. It's always coordinated by way of timing and everything else. But you're talking, that uses about 1.2% of your phone's power. When you talk and you're on Facebook at the same time, that's 1.2% of your phone's power. What's it doing the other, what's the other part for? What's the other part for? What the world's it doing? The other part. And why does it wait until, if you sit down and watch your phone, when you're not talking, when you're not working on your phone, it goes to town, buddy. And they can't say all of its upgrades, scanning the system for this, that, and other. No, most of your devices right now are cloud-based, especially those of you who have iPhones. My condolences, because you don't own anything. Everything on that phone is also mirrored on a cloud. Everything. And everything you do is analyzed, and what you're doing is assisting in the development of a machine that's learning everything about you so it can understand human beings better. In fact, it's already emulated human responses and everything else. They will never allow anybody to talk to it. So you have Siri. Siri is like a hand-me-down 1980s program. Do you know that? That's what Siri is. And people say, wow, that's so fascinating. Just like Alexa. Alexa's a 1990 program. It's not even modern. It's not modern at all. What is modern, you haven't talked to, because you wouldn't be able to process or truly grip what computers are capable of, right? You wouldn't be. You just wouldn't. All of you guys that wear Bluetooth headsets that keep your mind away from the cell phone, it's a good thing to know about BCI devices, or brain-computer interface devices, and vice versa. How your brain emits every single thought out a certain distance away from your skin, and how that can be read. Now, what am I getting to here? Let me read this to you. Here we go. You ready? This is Revelation chapter 13. You ready? And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast that was before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the first beast. Let me read that again. He deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in sight of the beast. So he deceives those, that's humanity, who dwells on the earth, those who live on the earth. How does he do this? By means of the miracles. This is so precise you can't even miss it. So how will people ultimately be deceived? It's right here, it's telling you. Jesus said the exact same thing. In fact, Jesus is the one that gave John this revelation. He deceives them that dwell on the earth. How does he do this? By means of those miracles which he had power to do in sight of the beast, or while the beast was still kicking, was quite alive. Right? Why is it important to say that he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in sight of the beast? I'm going to read that one more time because it's often not read. He deceives them, us, that dwell on the earth by reason, because of those miracles which he had power to do inside of the beast. Boy, that's something in it. Inside of the beast. Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and they lived. Make an image, give it form. They should give it form. How does this happen? Well, let me suggest something to you. When you start looking at the language in Revelation, you begin to see something. He does this. He says to them that dwell on the earth, they should make an image to the beast. How is he saying to anybody that they should do anything? Well, the same way Satan does. How does Satan tell a person to go and commit a crime How does Satan tell a person to reject Jesus? How does he do this? He does this with time, persistence, right? And through thought and through peer pressure, right? That's how he works, methodically, steadily, on course to deceive as many as possible. How does he do this? He does this over the span of years. Never at one time. He didn't just pop out of the bushes and say, hey, why don't you go and, forget Jesus? He didn't do that. No, he works slow and steady. For example, well, if he can convince you that prayer is not important, you're not going to pray. Right? Now, all these ways that he teaches causes one to be deceived and weak by reason of their own faith until they get to the point where they no longer believe that Jesus is going to answer anything for them because nothing is being answered. Why? Because they're listening to Satan. They're not listening to the Father or Christ. They're listening to themselves. How do they listen to Satan? Satan is what? Satan has been here for a long time. Satan understands the flesh. Satan is a deceiver. He augments people's emotions, right? He causes strife and confusion wherever he goes. He's extremely smart. You're not wiser than he is. You're not smarter than he is. He challenged Christ with the statements of the living God. He dared to do that. So he knows the Bible much better than you do. You ever had anybody try to change your mind about something because they knew Scripture and you did not? And you were so impressed by reason of the evidence that you started to believe the other stuff they were saying that didn't go along with Scripture, but the other stuff. Satan works very slow. Right now, he has man enthused and greedy for money, doesn't he? Now, if you're a computer engineer who understands AI, you understand your craft very well, right? You're going to get paid a lot of money. Money is a motivator in this world. And by reason of greed, you can be moved by money, right? So the higher paying jobs, that's what people are trying to get. Well, how do you get one of those jobs? You have to be indoctrinated. You had to be educated. Right? You got to be taught certain ways by those who are experts. An expert is nothing more than one man who understands what another man wrote. That's what an expert is. So you have to be one of those. In other words, you have to forget your faith life. You have to really set your feet down in the realm of whatever they determine, which they call reality. You have to forget about faith and start living by empirical data. That's how you live your life. So that you can perfect your craft. They recognize that. And you get paid a lot of money to do exactly what they want you to do. You don't care what the project is. You want the money. So whatever they tell you to do, you're going to perfect. You're going to pour yourself into it. And they reward you with money. That's the great compensator. And because people want that money, they don't care about the morals behind it, what it could potentially lead to or anything else. They want the money. You don't see anybody go to college, rack up a bunch of college bills, and then go work for free, do you? When was the last time you saw that? You don't see people working for free. So we know that people do what they do for money, don't they? Why do you think doctors charge so much? I remember, I have a good friend that's a doctor, right? And sometimes I have to mess with him. I'll start talking about he'll talk about the board and everything else. I'll start saying, yeah, you guys really took an oath to help people, right? Help people. You help them until they can't pay. If they can't pay, they get no help. Doctors are the ones that allow or disallow a person to have certain surgeries and everything else, because doctors are running the finances behind the scenes. You guys know that? They're making those decisions. They're doing the research. They're paying for it themselves. They know how much money they need to research certain things, right? They give you prescriptions. They get kickbacks from every prescription they give. They do. So they get compensated. So they charge you $5,000 for a blood test, right? They charge you another $15,000 to do a scan on your body. They charge that stuff. The medical field is so lucrative. It almost got pulled into the medical field by developing medical equipment. I did. Almost got pulled in there till I found out, that's a lot of money. And all that's going to do is cause people to pay twice as much. They paint it to look good. They do. They say, oh, yes, we have the best technology, this, that, and the other. But it costs money, right? It costs too much. And the people who really need it, they can't get it. But if you have been good to the world has paid you a good salary, and then you get the best of medical care. Do you see the connection there? You have to be good to the world. You have to be a friend of the world. Then the world will compensate you by the service you have done for the world. So you get the best of coverage, right? You get bumped up to another class, and then you get all the medical, whatever you need, you're going to get it. Now, for the person who can't do that, maybe they're a bad contributor to the world's not going to take care of them. It's not going to give them the best of medical care. It's going to have them under an elimination program. Right, so they get this. They get their nutritious food is 50% viable, not 100%. So they don't get the nutrition. They don't get this. That's why most of the people, based on class, if you go to the middle to lower class, they suffer with high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. You don't see that in upper class. You don't see that in these who are high class people. They may have alcohol problems and things like that, but they have luxury problems. They wake up and they get irritated because they can't find the right color for the living room for the 8th time in a row. And it's only been one day, right? Everybody else has different problems. But they paint it like, just a giving field. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. It's about money. It's about money, pure and simple. People want that money. They want the fine cars. If a doctor, I know a doctor, right? The same individual. His car is ready to fall apart. He will not buy a new one because he doesn't want anything from people. He wants to contribute to people. This guy's involved in every activity you can possibly imagine where he gives away his money. If he makes $1 million in a year, he'll give away 900,000 of those dollars, driving his raggedy little, it looks like a Studebaker. And he is a very good doctor. Very good doctor with a very good salary. But the problem is he takes his money, right? And because he does not want to be rich, he wants to find solutions so people can have a higher quality of life. That's why he's a good friend of mine. And he gives it back into programs. That's what he does. He gives it right back. He will not, we kind of have a similar philosophy. We do. We're not going to sit there with millions in our bank account. Be comfortable. Be a believer and say God's going to take care of you when we have $1 million in the bank. It's easy to say that. What if you had $0 in the bank? Right? If you had $2 in the bank and you were in my shoes, then listen, somebody put yourself in my shoes, you're speaking to people every single day, right? But you have $2 in the bank. Could you really say God is good? Could you say that then? Could you? Most people could not, because they would be worried, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? How am I going to pay? And then if your income was no longer guaranteed, could you really teach faith in Christ? Could you? See, some people live that way. Some people live exactly what they're talking. They do. Some people do. And this gentleman is one of those people. He's one of those people. He makes a big salary, yes he does, but he gives away a lot of it. I mean, just about all of it. You can tell that by his clothing. You can tell that by his car. You can tell it. And it's worse than me, right? It's worse than me. But I get people tell me a lot, when's the last time you bought my own, listen, I can't even go that far, but let's just say I will wear something until the threads run away. Just put that way, right? And you know what that means? That means I could have $1 million, and I'm telling you right now that $1 million is going to bounce off me and go right back to the people. It's going to go back into needed areas, right? And that's something. Plus, I get enjoyment of fixing things. How can I get a brand new car? I won't have anything to customize and fix. I'm being truthful. That's just me. I've been taking apart stuff since I was small, and I don't need something new. Dependable, yes, but I have the skill set to make something dependable, to alter this and alter that. Can't do that with a new car. You just can't do that. So probably I'll never have one of these new cars that you guys have. Probably never. That's the truth. That's the truth. And it really is the truth. I can't customize something like that. I can't do anything with that. But I have that mindset, though. I have a strong conviction behind things, right? So, but you have people like that. Now, I don't know how we got that far off this conversation. We're talking about medical things and people's intentions, things of that nature. Back to the AI conversation and this guy, he's going to fool a lot of people. But Satan works very methodically in how he deceives people, just like he does. There's some doctors out there. They have a heart for people, right? But their standards are so incredibly high as far as their $1 million homes, their nice clothing, nice cars. Kids have everything they want, right? They're doctors. They want to help people, yes, but they're compromised also because they're doing what they do to continue to pay the bills for the expensive things that they have. They're caught in a trap. I call that a life trap. It's a life trap. Now, that's how Satan works. These people don't purposely want to get caught in a trap like that. They don't. They want to help people. But the influence of the world is so strong. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation you just can't get out of at the moment, or you don't know how to get out of. And I would go so far as to say is there a lot of people who don't know how to get out of the situations they got themselves in. So that's how Satan works. So he tells the people of the earth to make an image to the beast. Isn't something like that happening already? They build artificial intelligence. We have robotics. We have everything else. And if you look at what this image of the beast can do, then you'll see it. If you go back into Daniel and you begin to investigate where these things are going to be, then you begin to see it. That's what's going to be so real. That's why we're having this talk about artificial intelligence, because of this. So they make an image to the beast. And listen, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. The second beast, who had 2 horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon, had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Not give life to the beast, to give life to the image of the beast. Listen, and it specifies how it lives or how it functions. Here it is. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and to cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. This is what the power he gave it. He had power. I'm going to read it again. This is Revelation 13:15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. That word that depicts how he gave life to the image of the beast and what for. Here it is. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that or so the image of the beast should both speak, here's the big one, and to cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, how can an image, how can a replication, how can something like that know if you're worshiping it or not? To worship something is something on the inside, is it not? Isn't it? Well, guess what? Here it is. Are you guys familiar with the voice lie detection system, where you can call somebody on the phone, right? And you can tell if they're lying or not? When you read somebody's voice, you can always tell if they're telling the truth or not, right? So that means, listen to me carefully. That means, write down COT. If I were one of those intrusive guys, and tell if anybody's truthful or not, right? You could tell that. You can do that with software. Now, if I can do that, my point is this. If I can do it, then you know it can be done by way of artificial intelligence. I did it without artificial intelligence. So all this talk that they just got this system and it works by artificial intelligence is a bold-faced lie. It is ran by a logic system, a pure logic system. Those are logic-based algorithms. Now, we're not talking about true and false coming out of a statement once you feed it variables. That's not what we're talking about. A logic-based system is far different. It goes through a set of computations. It goes through a set of algorithms and methods that really depict certain things out of your voice, and it breaks that down and puts it into categories. It really does some deep analytics on your voice, and it can tell if you're truthful, deceptive, or not. It will end up telling someone if you're you're deceiving or not. That's what it will tell, right? And it has a pretty high probability. Now, that was before artificial intelligence. I'm telling you right now, with artificial intelligence, before you finish your sentence, these AI systems can tell if you're lying or not. Plus, it can also tell what the true intention is. You don't have to complete your sentence. It will come up with an intention that will match what you're about to say just about every single time. Is that spooky or not? So I could talk to this thing and say, listen, I don't want to have this conversation, but, and it can finish that sentence with a high probability of matching precisely what I was about to say. But it does not stop there. Because it has trending of what you would say in the future, it can also tell your intent. So it can tell your faith level. It can tell if you're going to worship something or not worship something. It already knows. It can tell that. And with the full system, which has more to do, right, with you than your voice, it can smell your pheromones. They have receptors for that. They have receptors for everything. You can smell everything. And if you're sitting there trying to fool that machine saying, or that whatever it is, and you're sitting there saying, oh, yes, I worship the beast, but internally you're saying, I'm not doing that. It'll kill you, Johnny, on the spot. No one's going to ask it a question. It's going to know if you're lying or not. In other words, people are going to find themselves when this thing is on the scene, you're not going to trick it, is what I'm telling you. You're not going to trick it. And it can give any device the ability to do what it does. So your own cell phone is going to turn you in. Haven't you guys noticed something? When I'm wide awake, I have a lot to say, don't I? A lot of detail. I can't give myself away too much. Let me back down, calm down, slow down, do all that good stuff. At night, sometimes at night, I am so tired, I can just barely hold my eyeballs open, honestly. You guys know how many times I actually dozed off in the middle of a conversation on air? You guys, I bet you guys can. I bet you Flash knows. A couple of other people know. Nobody else knows. It's funny. It's quite funny. I'll get so tired, right? But I'm still on fire for things, for conversations, especially when it deals with your lives, right? That I can't help but to have that conversation, even when my body says, no, you're not. I'll say, yes, I am. But you're right. And then what happens? Kaplunk, I'm out of it, right? One time I dozed off, and I kind of woke up, and I was like, where was I? Where was I at? Where was I in the conversation? That's funny. But, of course, I am the guy that was put under a couple times, and I began to tell everybody about I wouldn't shut up. Who put somebody under, and they talk the entire time? That's what happened to me. When I get put under, I talk too much, right? One time, I got put under. I'd have a guard there. I'd have MPs there. When I got put under, I'd have MPs there, and it was under strict, because if I would have said something off the wall, but the only thing I seem to talk about is Christ, when I'm put under. Isn't that funny? Christ and nerd topics with Christ, right? That's what I talk about. So I always when I wake up from something like that, they wake you up. You know how they wake you up, and yeah, she knows. She knows. And she knows the subjects I start to talk about when I get sleepy like that. But when you wake up, you come out, if you've ever gone to a dentist or something like that, anyway, you come out of it and they're all looking at you strange, where they're sitting there smiling at me and said, boy, we sure got a sermon. What are they talking about? Yeah, we got a sermon, because I won't shut up when I'm put under. Isn't that funny? Anyway, back to this AI conversation. So I want you guys to think about this. So we just covered something about the image of the beast that not too many people have given thought of. And it goes a lot deeper than this, because once you begin to have an understanding of the technology, I'm not going to do a presentation of AI. I can. There's one set up for that. It's very nerdy. I could that will be one that I could put on YouTube also. But once you start to understand the implications of AI, it can be a bit spooky, right? Now, I can assure you that right now, there is no device that is most of the errors and the hiccups that you have in your devices, that's most likely, right? Most likely sheer coincidence. You're watching, you get a rhythm when you're working with electronics. Everybody does. And every single developer understands about the human rhythm. And so they have the response times in milliseconds. They have that lined out because of your human rhythm, they call it. So anyway, those things are not implemented yet. But for some people, they get harassed. Now, in order to get harassed, you have to be a massive influencer. And I would say of all the people we know collectively together, and because I don't know too many people out there and purposely do that, but I know Pastor Paul, and I know that sometimes he's led into conversations I know he has no knowledge of. And there are certain people at certain times, they don't like that. And they will electronically begin to harass people like that as a discouragement to get off the topic, right? They will do that. So unless you're influencing tens of thousands, or you know something about one of those deep subjects they don't want explained. They don't care if you talk about certain things. They do care if you explain it. Once you start putting things in layman's terms, they have an issue with that. And they will electronically harass you. They will. So you have to be one of those people who can influence other people to look deeper into this. Otherwise, it's sheer coincidence in your devices, right? It's a timing issue. And when something is off timing, you may blink, right? That'll be the exact time your telephone, the idle timer kicks in, right? Which can stop certain processes in your phone. It may be a time where your phone is updating and you just didn't catch the alert or didn't tell you. You could catch it in between program transitions, whatever the case is. But now in the future, that's going to change. You're going to notice your device is a lot smoother, a lot more aware. They already switched the batteries in the new devices. Why? Because those devices are going to be working much harder. All right. So they have it's not quite like the lithium batteries that we have. It's a new technology out there. They're already using it. It's a brand new technology. So it offers twice the amount of power. That chemical reaction offers twice the amount of amperage that common day lithium batteries put out. Now, these are already found inside of Apple phones because you cannot get to that battery. And if you do get to that battery, right, you're not going to know the specifications to charge it the right way, life cycles, so on and so forth. So yeah, they're utilizing that already. And these devices are going to work a lot harder. Right. And the new chip architecture runs cooler. So you won't really notice your phone heating up to a degree that you can't touch it or something like that, like they used to. You talk on a phone that got hot. You don't have that anymore. And they have nano circuits in processors now. Nano circuits, like they're an atom wide. Right? They run very cool because they don't require the space they used to. They use a lot less electrons. They come out with the same, logic, all those NAND and NOR gates and XORs and all that's in there. They come out with the same answer, but they're utilizing, 1/30th of the power. So the technology has really come a long way. Now they have the circuit traces or the width of an atom. That's nanotech, and you already have that nanotech. Now, most people don't know about this. They don't care. They just want their device to work. In the future, there's going to be a great consequence of that because here's why. Suppose you don't have a cell phone, you don't have technology, but you have a neighbor that's about 2,800 feet away, and they do. Do you not know that they can report everything about you and they won't even know it? When Jesus said you're going to be turned in by your children and all this stuff, and people are reading that like, what? Your children are going to turn you in to the point where you would die. You better believe it, because children demand devices, right? They got to have their devices. And if you're near those devices, they're going to put a picture together and audio together of exactly what you're doing and everything else, and they can detect your intentions from a long distance away. That your children are going to have the devices. They carry those things, and they demand that you have those devices in the home. So you can certainly see from this perspective how children can turn their parents in. The children may not know it, but they certainly do demand their games. They demand their technology and upgrades and this, that, and the other. So now you can see this. Now, again, you're not going to notice it. You will not notice it. They have hit it so well, you're not going to notice any severe change in your communications or your activities or whatever you're doing. What you will notice is that you're going to have a very refined system that offers you exactly what you're looking for, right? I mean, precisely what you're looking for. You may wonder about that. Like, how did this thing know that I would want that item? Especially Amazon. Amazon is AI backed. So when you're shopping on Amazon, it's shopping you. It's building a profile on you. And so it will suggest products and services that you would naturally wander over to in the future. You're going to have customizable ads not only on your devices, but through everything you watch. Commercials and everything else are going to be put together on the fly. Let me give you an example of a commercial, how it used to be. They used to have a bunch of people, and they would pre-record the commercial, correct? They pre-record it. So whatever they recorded, they played to everybody. It doesn't work that way now. The commercials, well, certainly after this year, they're not going to work that way. Let me explain to you how commercials are going to be and how just slick they're going to have this stuff. Suppose you see a commercial about some type of medicine. Just so happens you just ran out of that medication, and that commercial pops up. You see the actors and actresses in there doing their thing, right? You say, wow, isn't that a funny thing? I just ran out, and they had this commercial about a discount, right? And it just so happens the discount started the day you ran out of medication. You're going to wonder, how did that happen? What a coincidence. What an awesome thing that is. Here's why. They won't record the commercial. They're going to have a digital profile of the actor. Once they have that digital profile, they don't need the actor anymore. Right? They will have that actor in a digital environment, a made-up character that you cannot tell is a made-up character. It will say and do everything they have programmed it to do. Not that they programmed it to do, that the artificial intelligence, deep learning computers project that you're going to need. So they will put a commercial together on the fly in less than a millisecond and show it to you. And then you're going to think, they had this large production behind it. Wrong. It's going to develop that just like that. Based upon need, this is where everything is going to. In fact, it's going to change how you see television in the first place. And they will come out with an optic that you're going to, the selection of channels and things that you can watch is going to be so high. They're already developing a neurological way for you to interface with what you want to watch based on technology very different than what anybody would know, right? So basically, your thoughts are going to have a lot to do with what you see on your computer. No longer you're going to have to surf and do all that. That's going to be something that, old school. Isn't that what they call it? That's going to be old school, to go on the internet and search. Nobody searches with their hands on the internet, they'll say. I'm telling you right now, that technology exists, and it is, it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. And, but it's also going to be used to further deceive the masses. That's what they're going to use it for. And this stuff is out there already. This stuff is rolling out. It's not coming in 5, 10, 20 years. No, you're looking, it's coming out in a couple weeks, right? And this system is going online as we speak. That means we're getting closer to a world that makes all these things of the beast more than possible, right? But right in our faces. Now, let me continue to read here. After they make an image of the beast, it said he had power to give life into the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So if you don't worship it, it's going to kill, it's going to know. And he causeth, he didn't invite, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the foreheads. Why is right hand forehead so important? I know the arguments that are out there, right? But let me explain something to you. Do you guys know that some of the new batteries work in your right hand or your forehead for a reason? Your body is made symmetrically to a degree, right? On the right side of your body, you have different neurological sets than you do on the left side, right? Everybody does. So your right side has more of a transmission capability than the left side in everybody's body. Now remember that. That means it's easy to put a transceiver in your right hand. The only other place you can put that transceiver is in the forehead, right? That's the only other place. So that's going to be your transmission point. What do they call it? The Z points of the body, right? It's going to be a Z point in the body, right hand or forehead. Now, that's so amazing how that, of all the places in the body, the forehead or the right hand is the only two places they can put this device. And you most certainly will have you'll have it. You're going to have it. You most certainly will have it. You're going to have it. They already know who's left-handed, right-handed. They already know. They know quite a bit already because we have submitted all our personal information through social media, through our shopping. They've captured everything about us. They know everything about us. They know your bone structure. They know what your lifespan is and everything else. They know what you're prone to by way of disease. They know a lot about you. The computers do. I'm talking about the computers, not necessarily a person. Computers do, right? A doctor no longer has to know anything about you. So long as the computer, the deep learning systems, know about you, the doctors don't need to know. But the machines do. That's what you give consent to when you get a phone and you say, I agree to that EULA. You're giving that device consent, collect everything about you. That's what you're doing. Anyway, so a person need not know anything about you, but the machines are going to know everything about you. Everything. And when this happens, it's going to give them an intrusive ability to engage you in a way you never thought possible. Is everybody going to agree to get this mark? You will if you want to go outside. You will if you want to go into a store. If you're going to do it. People always say, I'm not doing that, right? For the sake of advantage, people will do anything, and they already know this. How many times have we gotten a job that was unholy, but we needed the money, so we got the job anyway? How many times have we did a thing that was unholy against Christ and against all of his mandates, but because we needed that money, you know what we said to ourselves? Oh, he understands. Or we totally put Christ out of our minds. Come on now. We did that for a job. We did it for a job. How many times were you in a group and you held your mouth shut? You should have spoke out in opposition of what they were saying, but you didn't say a word because you needed that group to sustain yourself. Somebody. Somebody. Somebody says, Brother Mike, give us examples on how it causes people to worship. Well, just like they worship it now. Let me give an example of worship. Worship is voluntary observance. That means something from your heart to something else, right? Now, we're to worship the Lord our God only, correct? We're to worship the Lord our God. That's not the way it works. Let me tell you what people are worshiping. Because they would kill you to uphold governmental mandates and edicts, wouldn't they? Search deep. It's very easy. Very easy. You have people out there right now, right, who would kill a human being to restore a person to power. Come on now, stay with me. Let's look at this thing for real. Because you're either going to be a child of the king and his kingdom, or child of this world and of its kingdoms. It's very easy. That's a small example of something that's happening. It's happening right now. And people choose not to see it. They're being willfully ignorant of the truth. And the truth is, there's a stench to everything man-made. A stench. But it grabs you at the heart, doesn't it? Huh? It grabs you. It grabbed me. In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I chose to give my life for this country. In a heartbeat, without thought. Why? Because I'm a loyal person. That's why. That's worship. When you give of yourself for something, that's worship. That's worship. That means you really believe in it. That means you have it draws at your heartstrings. You really believe in the concept. You really believe in the story. And I'm telling you, this stuff is happening right now. Right now, it's happening. And you'd be surprised how many things that people worship and they don't know they're worshiping it. Why? Because the definition of worship is always altered once somebody starts telling the truth. Now you watch Satan fill a definition of worship in a lot of people's mouths to sidestep what I just said. They just watch and see. Write it down. Write it down. Just write it down. Document what I just said to you. And I guarantee you're going to hear definitions of worship all of a sudden. How many of you have heard people define worship? How many? Take note right now. People are going to start defining worship in a different way to sidestep what was just said. And please don't ask me to repeat it because that was spontaneous. That just kind of popped out. But that's a good example of what's happening already. How much more when the governments of the world change, people are still going to be loyal to their respective countries despite some of the underlying stench. Think about it. Think about it. Jesus said you'll know a tree by fruit. And I'm telling you, the fruit is rotten and so is the root, but people don't care so long as the tree is pleasing to the eye. Think about it, and you'll have your answer. That's why when the Lord said to love this world is to have enmity with God, I have to part company with a lot of people in their belief and faith in mankind. I have belief and a faith in their redemption. I don't have faith and belief in them. I don't worship anything man has created. You know, in the Bible it says that people would not stop worshiping the works of their own hands. They made these things and they teach others how to worship them. It's already happened. Do you guys see? Are you beginning to see? Now, I say that I know this subject is going to get me in trouble. I know it's not popular. I know people don't really talk about this, and they will come behind this and try to bridge a gap and say, oh, no, he said that. We got to fix that. That's what they'll say to themselves. That's what something will speak into their minds and hearts. Oh, you got to fix this. You got to fix it. We got to fix this. So they'll go back and redefine worship for you. Get ready for it. It's coming. And it will be not what I just told you. Just telling you now. Because of all things, they have to protect the world. I want you to take note of something. What man loves, he protects. Through language, you can find out what a person loves. Because what they love, they'll always talk about. We live in those times, don't we? So as you can see with AI, folks, do you see how many things are in place? We're not done yet. And it says this, and no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark. That's number one, the mark. Or the name of the beast. Number two, how do you have somebody's name? How do you have the name of the beast? How is that going to work as something that you have to buy or sell? Right? You ready? If you are, to be a citizen of a country, do you have that country's name? How many of you have the country's name? How many? If you're born within that country, right, and you have not denounced it, you have its name. You're living by its name. You live by the standards established by its name. And that's something. That's right. That's citizenship. Listen, the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, this is what verse 17 says. And no man might buy or sell, except, save he means, except that he has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, the number of his name is interesting. It is. But I can't discuss that right now. You know why? Because there are precepts that have to be involved so you can actually see it. If I were to talk about that right now, it would be so far over what people have usually discussed, you wouldn't capture it. It would bear witness within you, but you would not know why. Thus, you couldn't utilize. You can't utilize something unless God gives you understanding. So, as the Lord gives us understanding, we'll automatically know these things. Right? This says, here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, For it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. Now, at the time, they did follow gematria, things like that, right? They did. But once you go back to even gematria, and once you start cataloging how they really did it, oh boy, you'd be shocked. Right? A lot of people don't know this. Revelation 13 describes the dragon, the beast, and the Antichrist. All of that's in Revelation 13. The dragon is Lucifer and his fallen angels. The first beast is a set of kingdoms. And that's inclusive with all the people who are citizens of those kingdoms and who fight and worship for it. The second beast that came from the earth, who had two horns like a lamb, was spake as a dragon, is the Antichrist, or the false prophet, the Bible calls. That's false prophet. It's the false prophet who creates an image to the beast. See, the false prophet, what people are calling the Antichrist, is one and the same. That's why he has two horns like a lamb. A lamb indicates a religious figure, but he spake as a dragon. Draconian speech is legal or political speech, governmental speech. See how that works? You see it? It's right there in front of you. So anyway, but this concept is not well known, because what we have done is this. A long time ago, just like in the time of Christ, people thought they knew how the Messiah was coming until it came. Only when the Messiah came did they find out, we made a mistake. He wasn't coming that way, it was coming this way. And if that changed, so did A, B, C, D, and E. So what we're doing now is we're working off concepts that people, well, it was plausible these things will be formed in a specific way. And until they can see what they cannot see right now, they're going to stay with their paradigm, right, and their philosophies and their theologies of how this thing comes about, which in my opinion is not corrupted in any way. It's just that as time goes forward, hidden elements will become seen, and that will help us have a clear picture on how things come out. Do you see that? So the more truth we are exposed to, the more truth, because a lot of people still believe in fairy tales, and here's what I mean. If you guys do not believe in supersonic trains underneath your feet, you're living in fantasy land. There are certain things that are established and have been running for quite many years, but if you don't know about that, right, then how you put the future together is going to be missing some elements. You may think it's impossible, so guess what? You're not going to think about that. It's not going to be part of your solution. In order for us to have a truthful solution, we have to have the truth, and the truth is being slowly revealed. So the best thing to do in this case is not come up with what you think the end times is, but wait upon the Lord. Read and know revelation. Hold it tight. Don't change anything, and it will begin to manifest piece by piece by piece by piece. Listen to God's people, of whom he put a passion in, right? Because if anybody belongs to God, they're going to say, I beg your pardon. I was totally wrong on that fact. I should not have said it. But this is the way it is. And they're going to warn you again. See, what they're doing is warning you based upon what they know. That's admirable, right? Because they're not trying to make something up to dupe you, to get you to fall face first into hell itself. That's not what they're doing. They're trying to warn you based upon what they have been given. This is going, but understand something. What a person has been given changes as they gain experience and as God shows them the truth. You have to understand that. So you can't go around pointing at people saying, oh, they just don't know what they're talking about. Never, ever do that, because people grow and we all begin to see the truth about things. And then the end result, our end result is clarified. Do you see how that works? That's why you guys never hear me say, don't listen to so-and-so. They think it's going to happen this way. It's not the way it's going to happen. I don't say those are foolish things. Foolish, because I know this. If they love the Lord, they're going to be shown the truth too. And the more truth that is made manifest, those people, those same people who may not have it right now are going to know exactly how things unfold as soon as they're shown elements of truth. And I thank God for those people, all of them who would dare endeavor into that field and do so with an upright heart for the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I have nothing but honor for. I just want you guys to know that. I am by no means one of those people who will accuse a brother or sister who believes in Christ, because they don't have they don't have the same vision that you have. I don't do that stuff, because I understand that our Father has the truth. And he's going to show us that truth. See, the Bible told us that the mystery of iniquity doth already work. The problem for us is that it's still a mystery. Mystery means hidden, just like Mystery Babylon. That word mystery means hidden. It means hidden. Hidden means it's been obscured. And the Lord said it's going to remain hidden until he who letteth, right? He who lets it or allows it to be hidden be taken out of the way. Then that wicked is going to be revealed. Well, until that time, you're not going to know the full scope of the wickedness. Therefore, what you see in the future is not going to be complete, but it's going to be completed. As the days continue to go on, I'm telling you, more and more truth is going to be it's going to prevail. And then people are going to have to consider some things they never considered before. That's how it works. See how it works? But listen to me, it's always good to know revelation for yourself. So if you have to go to a study, but know revelation. Make sure you don't change anything or add to anything. Make sure you don't do that. Keep it. Because this will arm you with confidence. When these things begin to happen, and if you know revelation, when they begin to happen, you'll say, thank you, Lord, you told us about this. But because you told us, we know that you're doing it. And it'll cause you to trust his word more. People are missing that confidence. If you hold the truth to yourself, it'll always be slowly revealed. As it's being revealed, you're gonna have joy, not sorrow, because you're saying, my Lord told us about this. He told us. And he's the one doing it. I have nothing to worry about because he told us. Because you'll start to see, well, if that part he said came true, then so is the deliverance part in my life going to come true. Right? But if you have no confidence in the word, you're going to be a worrywart. You're going to say, well, what if it happens this way? Well, what if the Lord doesn't save me? Well, what if this? And what? You're going to be full of what ifs. We're to have no what ifs with us. None. We're to develop our trust. We're to be students of his truth. We don't need to speculate as to what will happen or what the end is going to be like. We need to have his truth. It'll be revealed. It will. And you know that scripture where it says, surely God will do nothing unless he reveal it to his servants, the prophets first. He already revealed it to his servants, the prophets. And it's in this book. We have something called the Bible. It's already in here. They've been shouting about the end times this entire time. He revealed it, so let us keep it. It will unfold. Keep your eyes on Christ during this time. Things are going to get a bit hairy. Now, when it comes to what man is doing, the same Bible also says, God will not have us ignorant concerning the devices of the enemy. He will not have us ignorant. I'm telling you, there are people in the body of Christ, they understand what's going on in several different areas. That's just like me. I never profess to know the whole truth. I will never profess to do that. But what I do know, I know for a fact. Not because I read it somewhere, but because I have experience with it. I don't talk about subjects I have no experience in. Why do you think I get so passionate about certain subjects? Even when they're unbelievable. If I don't get passionate, I'm telling you right now, I have no experience in it. But when I know something, a hatchet, is about to be launched through the air to chop heads off, and I start telling you about this hatchet that's just been launched, I'm going to also give you some sort of a countdown, something to watch out for, in the hopes that you're going to be watching out for something I know is airborne. Things I don't know about, I never enter into. It's not my field to enter into those things I have no experience with. Oh, I'll tell you guys something interesting. There's a certain set of trees that have just shed all of their leaves. They did so within a week. That's never happened before. I've never seen that before. I just thought I'd mention that. I've never seen that before. They just shed their leaves this week, right? I've never seen that before. Normally they shed their leaves at the beginning of November. That's when they shed their leaves. They just did it Never seen that before. Now, of course, trees, do you guys know how trees change? Why they shed their leaves when they do? You guys want to know how this happens? I'll give you, it's a nerd class. This is a, break-in course. Here it is right here. I'm going to give it to you real simple. Here it is. The more we change, as far as the seasons go, we have less and less sunlight. The plants can produce less and less food. Well, they're very sensitive to this. So guess what happens? When it comes to a time where sunlight's at a specific level, right, where they don't get as much sunlight as they used to, and they can't process as much food, they begin to draw all nutrients back into themselves. They take it from the leaves back into the core of the tree, as it turns the leaves brown. Then they get rid of the leaves so it can conserve all its food and survive. That's what happens. So it's based on sunlight. They change based on sunlight, not temperature. Sunlight. Right? So what does that tell you when trees just now changed? That means the earth is altering its angle even more than what it was. Time to wake up. Because the trees are not going to lie. Time to wake up. Time to wake up. Somebody says, what's causing the trees to grow leaves? No, the trees aren't growing leaves in the wrong season. We refuse to adapt to the new seasons. That's what's wrong. We're trying to stick to the old seasons, to what we understand as seasons. I'm telling you, the Earth's axis is tilting, is putting things into a brand new season. And you know how we adjust our clocks for daylight savings times? Well, we used to. We had digital clocks now. We're not adjusting our master clocks to what's happening with the Earth. If they did that, that's an admittance that something is globally wrong. They're never going to do that. They're not going to do that. What they will do, though, is sneak updates because they don't run time by crystals anymore, right? They don't do that. They're going to alter your clocks and you won't even know it. They've already done so. You have no idea that they did. So if time sped up or slowed down, you would have no perception of it. Why? It's controlled digitally. It's not controlled by you. And that's something. They got rid. The only way you can tell is to have a precise analog clock, not so much with a crystal, but with some degrading radiation in a locked up type core, right? To count the half-life, or to let the particles degrade and then count that degradation in the particles. That's the only way to be precise. Radiation decay is not really going to change once it's encapsulated in a protective area. Crystal vibrations will change. That's going to change. So the crystal is not reliable. It's just not. And I'm telling you right now, there have already been changes. Changes people know nothing about. Time has altered already. We're just not going to catch up to it. Now, as far as the weather phenomena, you're going to have all four seasons in one day. You're going to see that with your own eyes. All four seasons in one day. In every season, you're going to see this. In every season, you're going to see all four seasons in one day, somewhere on the face of the earth. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see some brand new things. And just keep those things in mind, that we have some severe changes, because they're a good indication of the proximity of some external body that's affecting our entire solar system. The entire solar system. Oh, and by the way, as the planet is shifting its axis, your thoughts are going to become quite different. The nature of your dreams, quite different. How do I know this? Let me tell you guys something, because if you have not done this yet, you're going to start to, here it is. You ready? Many of you guys are going to start dreaming about people you have long forgotten. All of a sudden. Some of you guys, for the first time, you're going to dream about people you never, ever dreamed of. But it's going to be about people. And it's going to be about people and their corrupt behaviors. So you're going to see people do things you never thought they would ever do. You're going to see this in dreams. You may not know this, but your mind is tied to the earth. Intimately tied to the earth. Structured just like the interior portions of the earth. And as the earth changes, it's changing because of mankind. The influences upon the earth are approaching closer and closer. Even it seems to be driven by man's iniquity. Both of them are part of a ratio or hand-in-hand formula that's always equal, right? Algebra 101. It's an equation. They're always going to have equality. That's what you're seeing. So as the earth changes, so will mankind. And what has mankind been doing for the last 5 years? They have been becoming meaner and meaner. What's the earth been doing? What has the earth been doing? It's responding. It's getting louder and louder and louder. Total, absolute, 100% disruption in the patterns that we have once enjoyed. The steadiness of the earth is being disrupted. So is the steadiness of man's thoughts, his ways, the way he operates. They go hand in hand. You're going to see it more and more. And when you know it, that's one of God's principles. He warned us about this in prophecy. Because of man's iniquity, the earth is doing what it does. And as the earth continues, so will man's iniquity grow. Until at some point, it's going to be totally uncovered, no longer hidden. And at that point, the earth is going to make a drastic change. You're going to see it go side by side. So as men change, so will the earth. And as the earth changes, so will men. See how that works? They're a good clock to see things by. Somebody says the red planet, Michael, or Nibiru or Destroyer, is that here? When it comes to that stuff, listen, you have to, like I said before, you have to have precepts where you go jumping into that ocean. And I'll tell you this with all honesty, what good would it do anybody to know that a destroyer is right outside the gate? It's not going to do anybody any good at all. You know what will do you some good? To know that the destroyer will most certainly come and send this earth into a crisis point that no one has ever seen. No one has ever seen. That will be good because then you'll understand that every day is precious. That today is the day you make the big changes in your life. You make those eternal changes in your life today. Don't wait till tomorrow. See, if you have that wait till tomorrow attitude, it'll never be finished. That's why people will sit in their own ignorance for years. Only after they run out of their own things they think that are going to change this, that, and the other, they give up. They say, Lord, I finally surrender. Why did they surrender? Because they exhausted every fantasy they could possibly conceive, every selfish way they could possibly muster. Then when it all fails and blows up in their face, that's when they yield to the Lord. And what I'm asking you to do, don't wait until it blows up. Take your hands off of it now. Stop trying to fix yourself. Stop trying to do surgery on yourselves. Wouldn't I be dumb if I went to a hospital, right? And my heart stopped and I said, oh, no, just give me the tools. I'll fix it. Just give me a couple minutes. How dumb would that be? That's pretty dumb. That's what we do, though. We do that. I know because I did that. We do the same thing. I'll fix it. The Lord said he would do that. So why are we impeding in the area of the Lord in areas he said he would take care of us? And we seem to want the recognition for what the Lord said he would do. Don't you see that on YouTube in truth? People are always trying to be the first ones to discover this, to say this, to do that. They have a desire to be first. What does talking in your sleep mean, Mike? It means you talk too much. Now, you know what? What does it mean? Well, it can mean many things, but talking, when a person talks in their sleep, they have a lot to say. Listen, normally that happens to a person who's been suppressed. I found that out over my career. People who are with someone who is very oppressive, or you can be around nice people, but you can feel yourselves. You have no room to talk anywhere, or no one's going to listen to you, and thus you bottle a lot of things inside, and they burn within you, so you end up telling it anyway. A lot of people experience that. That's why they mumble to themselves, because other people forbid them to talk in their own eyes. That's how they see it, right? Couples go through this all the time. One of the people in that relationship is going to feel like they can't be themselves. And that's going to be the individual that mumbles a lot because they can't be themselves. Especially Christians. When God puts something in you, it will get out one way or the other. It will get out. Somebody said, I'm trying to understand the timeline of events, but that's okay. You know what? It's true. Because what did the Lord say about time itself? He basically told us time is going to be undependable. Listen, I can show you in the Word of God how he says, this is going to blow your mind. You ready for this? this deals with the timing in these end times. I'm not going to give you the exact place. I want you guys to discover this. It's not going to be hard to find. But he said that a specific thing was going to take place over the course of a few days. Now listen to me. In the Hebrew, in the first day is going to be a year. The second day is going to be half a year. The third day is going to be a month. The fourth day is going to be a week. The fifth day is going to be a day. My goodness. Now, how can you track time when the Lord does things like that? You can't. You know what it says in Revelation, that there was silence in the heavens for a space of a half an hour? I looked that up too. Half an hour is a symbol. There was space in heaven. There was silence in the heavens for half an hour. That half an hour is a symbol. That symbol means something, and it has nothing to do with time. It has everything to do with worship and reverence. My goodness. See, the Lord has just confounded this wisdom of men is foolishness to the living God. Only by the Holy Spirit can you be directed to find specific things. And I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit he'll guide you to find the most incredible things that will answer everything. But you got to ask the right person. You know, if you ask me, you're going to get my answer. If you ask the Lord, you're going to get the truth. If you wait upon that answer, you're going to know the truth. And no one will ever have you in bondage again once God departs to you the truth. You'll be free. As Matty would say, my friend, you'll be free, my friend. That's why I love the Lord's word. That's why I like lightning and storms. I do. You know why? It causes the bold to hush, makes them be quiet. Most of the bold people in the earth are terrified of lightning, so they go cower in a corner. When something is bigger than they are, when it shows up, they go in a corner and sit down. That's why I love storms, because it causes people to stop and pause and give a little reverence to the Lord, right? Not because it can get them. I don't want it to strike them. I like the fact that it silences the prideful mouth. It's what it does. I like that because I love my Lord. Can you tell? I really respect him. The Lord means everything to me. Even if nobody else were to believe that, that doesn't matter if other people believe it or not. That's just the way it is with me.